Hey everyone, thanks for all the likes and posts interested in seeing how we can hook up an X-Touch wirelessly to an X32. So the only thing you're going to see here is power. So the first thing I'd like to do is go through the inventory of stuff. This is the equipment that I've got and what it looks like. And I'll have links in the description down below. So let's go ahead and flip this around and we'll see all the different inventory. The first thing we have here is an X-Touch. So I bought mine at Sweetwater. Again, the link will be in the bio or down below. I bought an overlay, which was not cheap, but it's very heavy duty. It's got a little magnet to it, so it sticks nice. I've got an iPad with a pretty fancy little stand here, so you cannot do everything that you want to on this device. So I like to have my iPad very, very close. Over here we have the X32. Now you can use any wireless router. I happen to use this one. I found on, a matter of fact, somebody posted a picture on this forum, and I really like the look of it. It's rack mount and so forth. So you'll need a wireless router hooked up to your X-Rack. The last little piece that I have is called a TP-Link. Now there's several brands of this same style. But the reason I like this one is it has something called a client mode. And basically, if you picture a cable running from your X-Touch to your router, that's what this replaces. It acts like that cable, only wirelessly. And I'll actually go through the setup screens with you today. So let's start putting this together. So for the first step, we're going to set up the wireless part and how this hooks into your wireless router. So make sure your router is on. We're going to click setup and we want to move over to network. Now this might take a little of IT background, it may not, but I like to use a static IP address. You can see down here there's a little knob, where you can change it to gateway, mask, IP, or you can make it DHCP, that's dynamic range. I like to put mine to a fixed IP address, 192.168.1.100. So we're gonna leave that alone. The next part, we're gonna wanna go to remote. And in remote, you're gonna see down at the very bottom, it says X-Touch over Ethernet. So you'll wanna scroll down to the X-Touch for Ethernet and make sure you click it on. And then you should be good. That is it for this side of things. So now let's go see how the router works. Okay, so to make this work, I am going to reset this router since I've already set it up once. To do that, there's a little pinhole that you'll just hold in here for 10 seconds until that flashes. So I'm doing this from scratch just so you can see what it looks like. I'll put you in front of the screen here in just a second. Okay, so now that it is reset back to factory settings, it should turn on and it will blink. Okay, for this next part, I'm gonna do it from my iPad. And I'm gonna turn on the Wi-Fi. Normally I'm connected to my home network, but I'm out in the garage. And like most of you, I like to have my X32 up by the stage. I have my wireless mics up there and a few of the short cables. I have a digital box, a stage box that goes over to the other side of the stage and things like that. So here you can see we have the home point 2.0, that's my home. But there's something called TP-Link with a default name on there. Go ahead and choose that. When you get this, it'll tell you what the address is. The password. When you get this out of the box, it'll tell you what the password is. So don't worry about not knowing the password and things like that. Okay, once we're there, let's open up a browser. So in the instructions, it'll tell you to go to a domain name or website name called tplinkwifi.net and go ahead and go to that site. And then the first thing it's going to do is it's going to tell you to create a password. That way if somebody else gets access to this, they can't do bad things for you. So let's go ahead and we will use I'll choose my own. And we'll just say password. So once you log in, the easiest way to do this really is to just do the quick setup start. So let's go ahead and run the quick setup. I'm going to hit next. And this is where the magic for me came in. And you can see the different modes over here. If you want to read through this, you can. But there's a wireless router by default, WISP, access point, range extender, and then there's a client mode. And the client mode is this device can be connected to another device via Ethernet port and act as an adapter to grant your wired devices access to a wireless network. So basically it's replacing a cable from here to there. So let's choose client, and then we're going to hit next, and it's going to search the room or the area for where your wireless router is, the one that's connected to your X32. In case mine is called Olson Studios Live 2.4G, and I'm going to connect to that. And here's where it does some different things, but the first thing is it gives the MAC address, the security type, and then I got to type in the password. I'm going to pause this while I type in the password to my home or to the wireless router up there. Okay, so this is where I ran into some problems the first time around. There's different LAN types. There's one called DHCP. That's a dynamic network address. So in other words, this will assign you a different address every time. Now remember, your bandmates can use their iPhones to mix their own mix. I have two. I have an iPad and a Surface device that I use out in front, and some other things. Plus now we'll have this X32 hooked up. So what I like to do is I like to assign this router another static IP address, just like I gave that one the 100. I am going to come here and I'm going to say static IP, and I am going to go back, and I believe it was I'm going to go 99. So that way we have it set up to a fixed address, and I'm going to disable DHCP server and hit next. So now it is rebooting. We'll be back in a minute as soon as it finishes up. One of the things you'll note is this was flashing while it was rebooting. You know you have a successful connection when that turns a solid green. And so this is finished rebooting. We don't have to do anything else. So this is actually now wirelessly connected to my router. And I happen to have a network cable hooked here. And of course, messy cable guy here. Let's plug that into my X-Touch. Hold on 1 minute. So now in the back here, you can see a place that says Ethernet remote. You're going to plug in the other end of our cable into there. I still have the X-Touch off. So get this connected to there. No wires to the X32 just yet. So now let's come back over here. So the X-Touch is a very versatile machine. You can use it with your DAW. So if you're using, you have a recording studio like I do, I can switch back and forth, but you have to put it in a certain mode to use it in each way. Right now I'm using it as a controller for the X32. You can also use it for your DAW. So what you do is you press and hold the select button over here, and then you turn on the power. And when that turns on, you're going to see the control panel across here light up, and it's going to give you some options. Here you can see X control, HUI, all those different settings. You can read about those if that's what you want. We are going to just set this to X control, and that's all you do, hit select. Now, as it reboots, it didn't find it yet, so let's hit the scan button all the way over the right here. Let's just click on this once. And now you can see it left off where I was last time I used this machine. So let's do some other things. You can see the mute buttons. I have a mute group set up here that I can turn on and off. Whoops, I guess that's this button right here. So it all works really nicely. You can see that I have the different vocals, the bass, the steel. If I go to my next fader bank, that's all the drums. The last fader bank, of course, are going to be the acoustic and electric guitar. So now let's sync this up and let's see it work together with the iPad. So on the iPad, I am going to click my Olsen Studios. This happens to be 5G. It has a mixed mode there. And it's asking for the password. So let me key that in without you seeing it. Okay, we are now connected to the wireless router hooked up to the X32, also hooked up to the X-Touch. Let's go into my 32 mix. Because I have a static IP, I don't know if you saw that or not, I can just, oops, there it is. I can just leave that at the 168.1.100. That's why I like the static IP. This software doesn't scan, or at least I don't know how to get it to scan. So it's nice in the fact that it stays the same every time. So, all right, let's go to channels 1 through 8. Okay, so I've connected all the pieces that I need to. Through the back here, I connected, you know, the router, just a regular network cable to the back here. I turn it on, I set it into control mode. And now if everything works right, when I move a button here, it should move up there. So let's go on channels 1 through 8. We'll make sure we're on channels 1 through 8. And if I move this, you can see it goes up and down. Same, there you'll remember those are motorized. My mute group, I can go from channel to channel. So if I go here, that should match here. You can do quite a bit with this. The other thing I really like with this little plate right here is you can go to your gains. So I often have a vocalist that throughout the night he gets louder and I have to work on his gains a little bit. You can easily set the gains. The pan, I don't usually mix in stereo and live, but the EQ, so you have all the frequencies. And then of course the buses. So very powerful. There's plenty of videos on how to run this with the X32, but I think you get the point. We are all set. And let me get that down because I don't like to turn that on and have it blast everyone out. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. Again, I'll leave the parts list down in the description and reach out with any questions.